right. I just turned the camera on because I'm like, there is no amount of organizing of these thoughts that's going to get you to know what you about to say because it's just coming through. All right, so welcome back, y'all. I am going to pick up where I left off in my story time about how I am healing my mommy wounds, how I am actively continuing to heal my mommy wounds. I started about 5 years ago, 2018. And every year, every cycle has been just me healing a new version of something, a deeper level of my mommy wounds. And so I was trying to organize my thoughts, like, oh, let me talk about this, let me talk about that. And I got a few notes here, but we're just gonna start where we start and we're gonna end where we end, and we're just gonna keep it rocking. Because I feel like these kinds of stories, they just different pieces just keep revealing themselves as you peel back the layers. And so I'm just gonna pick up where we left off in part two of this particular story time. I was just talking about how my relationship with my daughter's father, I recognized during my healing, during my last 5 years of healing, as I was peeling back the layers and really being able to see myself, see my situation, see the realities and the relationships that I had manifested thus far. I was able to see my patterns from like a bird's eye view. Like I was able to scale back and see my patterns, patterns in relationships, and I was able to scale back even more to see how my patterns echoed my mother's relationship patterns. And so this is the beauty of disconnecting from everybody and everything, and really taking time to look inward, to do your shadow work, to really see like what is beneath the surface that is driving your choices. Because once I gave myself permission to sort of like disconnect from other people and other people's thoughts about what I should and shouldn't do as far as my relationship with my daughter's father, once I gave myself permission to do that, I was able to see clearer. And so this is what I saw when during the last like 5 years. This is what I began to see. I saw that I was a sort of an extension of my mother as far as like her relationship with her lovers. We are not exactly the same because we were raised the same. We did different, like I did my healing work differently than she might be doing her healing work, maybe sooner, etc. And so she and I are not like exactly the same as far as our relationship patterns and styles. But what I did notice that was similar is that both of us have ways of sort of avoiding, like we had that avoidant way about us. In my trauma self, I was very much like, oh, if it's a problem, I'm gonna create a lot of space, I'm out. Like it had that kind of energy. In my healed self, I don't do that, but that was my pattern that I was raised in. Like create space and distance yourself when you have that those issues in relationships. Other patterns, I think also my way that I sort of was a people pleaser. I believe that kind of came from I inherited that from my mom as well, and that way that we don't want to upset anybody's order. You know what I'm saying? Like a version of us doesn't want to upset anybody's order, especially somebody we're in love with, or somebody we love like in a romantic sexual way. We really don't want to upset their order. We don't want to behave in a way that would make them want to go, want to leave, want to separate, etc. And then even after the separation, we don't want to like rock the boat too much. You know what I'm saying? Like that was all very much my mom's energy. From my eyes, I'm gonna explain my mother's relationship with my father from my eyes. And keep in mind, my eyes have a limited perspective because I haven't really had a chance to really talk to them about the ins and outs. And I mean, you can never really know the ins and outs of any romantic sexual relationship anyway, because that's just like a beehive. You don't know what's going on in there. You know what I'm saying? You never know what all they promised each other, and you know what I'm saying, what they experienced together. But from my eyes, from my point of view, my mother and my father were in love when they created me. They were like each other's, ooh, like that's my person, that's the one that got away kind of person from my point of view. All right, now does that mean that they never had any other loves? No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that like this connection was deep. Okay, it was deep. Like to this day, my mother asks me about my father in a way that like, you know, how your daddy doing? You know, like, you know, like to this day, I can just feel it. You know, that love. And my dad lights up in a way when he talks about my mom that I don't really see him light up with other, when he talks about other females that he is dating, has dated, etc. And so from my eyes, from my point of view, my parents had something that was real, that was deep, and that was rooted in a genuine like love and care for one another. Now, what happened after that, after I was born, blah blah blah, who knows? Who knows? They know. But I can sense the connection that they have or had very strongly. I can sense that. Now, the more that I kind of study my mom's relationship with my dad, the more that I kind of get the sense that, and again, this is from my point of view, she ain't never confirmed or denied this, neither has he, but just, you know, sometimes you can just intuitively feel a thing. I kind of get the sense that I get the sense that if things could have been different, my mother would have liked that. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of get a sense that, you know, she had to do what she had to do because the circumstances required her to do those things. You know what I'm saying? I get the sense that if she could have, you know, stayed with dad, worked that out, like not have gone through some of the difficult things she had to go through with him, I think she would have totally did that. But, you know, obviously one thing led to another, and my mother had to make decisions for herself and for her children who were living with her at the time to make sure that she was providing for them what they needed. Okay. And so I see that. And so my mother has, from my point of view, has had a really difficult love life, you know, really challenging and strained relationships with love partners. I get the sense that she has not been taken care of as well as she's deserved, you know. I remember asking her about like, what was it like when I was born? Like the day I was born, like what was it like? Like, were you happy? Like, what was happening around that? And she was just like, of course she was happy, you know, for me, you know, I was her first girl, and so of course she was happy. She was like, and also, you know, like your dad didn't show up, like he wasn't there. I was in I think her mom was not there in the room or something like that. And so she was saying that she delivered me on her own. She delivered me on her own. She was by herself. And I could sense that was a pattern in her story. Like her having to to face challenges alone was her theme, you know, of her trauma self. And so I grew up feeling similarly, which is so weird because I had aunts, I had people at church, I had people who could help me, and yet I grew up feeling very much like no one's here, no one's helping me, no one's listening, no one's looking out for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta do everything by myself. Like, I gotta get it how I live. Like, I grew up with that wounded mindset. Uh, I grew up with that wounded mindset, which I believe I inherited from my mother, but I also believe I inherited that from women far and wide, you know, definitely women in the Black community during certain generations. And so I during the last 5 years, I've been able to pinpoint quite a few of similar relationship beliefs, relationship patterns and habits that I believe stems from my mother-daughter relationship. And also, I believe I'm absorbing and adopting beliefs and relationship patterns that have existed on a societal level, like in society with women over these last few generations. You know, so it's both. And my mother is a part of society, you know, this is the women in society, so she's going through some of the difficult life lessons that most women have had to go through over the last generations. And so I feel very much like I am being called to shift the beliefs around what it means to be a woman and what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a love partner. And so where my mother and other women may have sort of gotten stuck in those beliefs and in those situations, I believe that my role is to, one, get stuck and then to unstick myself. And so I am in the unsticking myself phase of this particular life mission. Was I stuck in a thing and stuck in a mindset, stuck in a relationship, a toxic relationship loop? Hell yeah. Like, hell to the yeah. But am I stuck right now? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. My mindset is not stuck. My mindset is opening and seeing where people got stuck and how they can get out. My habits are not stuck. And so there's a lot of reprogramming that I'm doing around what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a feminine in a partnership, what it means to be a feminine in this world. Okay? I was raised around strong Black women. All right? And on the one hand, so grateful because I had this power in me that roars, you know what I'm saying, loud. And on the other hand, it crippled me in ways that made me less powerful. So for example, raised around strong Black women who are like, you know, whenever you go out on a date, always have money for yourself because you don't want the guy thinking that like you owe him something, blah, blah, blah. And you don't want to rely on him just in case he don't, you know, take care of you as far as getting home. It's that you always want to have money to call. You know what I'm saying? Always have, you get in a relationship, always have an extra bank account because you never know, you know what I'm saying, if it shit hit the fan, if they gonna, you know, blah, blah, blah. You might need to get up out of there and have your own money. You know, always have a plan B. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, etc., etc. And mind you, this is solid advice. This is wise, and yet it's rooted in trauma. It's rooted in a lack of trust in your partnership. It's rooted in a hard persona, you know? And what that did was that set me up to be prepared for the worst. That set me up to be very much in my masculine, ready to take charge and action anytime I needed to. But it completely caused me to ignore my feminine softness, my submissive side, my feminine, you know, take care of me energy. I completely ignored that. And so I was raised in a way, I was raised to be a warrior. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that is definitely a goddess woman archetype. But I was raised to be like tough, prepared. Um, and I didn't have enough balance. Here's where the issue is for me. There was not a lot of balance. I wasn't really raised to be in my feminine softness. I wasn't really raised to trust my intuition. I wasn't really raised to, be quiet, rest, let other people do things, ask for people to help you, and then wait for them to help you, and then, accept the helpness. I was not raised to be submissive, and so as I heal my mommy wounds, and having to do with my individual expression of who I am as a woman, and having to do with how I show up in relationships and partnerships, I'm finding that I'm having to rewrite my beliefs, because all of the beliefs that I was raised in are rooted in trauma. They're rooted in trauma. You're rooted in trauma. And so over the past 5 years, as I started my sacred woman journey, and I began to heal my relationship with myself, my relationship with my womb, my relationship to my life purpose, my relationship to how I'm expressing myself in the world, and showing up as my truest self, my relationship with other people, as I began to express and heal those parts of me, I'm learning that I actually like to be in my feminine, soft, submissive energy. Do I always need to be? No. Queen Afua in the book Sacred Woman, she says, you keep a bitch in your pocket. Like, she always going to be there. The version of me that I was my first 30 years, she will always be there. She will always be here. Like, she's ingrained in the fiber of the foundation of who I am. She's not going anywhere. She's just not driving. She's not driving anymore. She's just there in case, like, somebody get me fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Like, in case somebody get me confused with the next person. She's there. But really, really, the version of me that I'm breathing more life into is the version of me that I believe I was called to be before my traumatic environment dictated who I was, before my traumatic caregivers dictated who I was, before this traumatized society dictated who I was. I believe that I was called to be the example and the essence of divine goddess energy. Someone who is in their power, in their feminine power, someone who is in their sensual sexual power, someone who has activated their high priestess qualities and energies, someone who is channeling healing codes, healing messages, healing energy from the heavens to the earth. I'm saying? Somebody who knows how to transmute negative energy and turn it into something positive, turning lemons into lemonade. Like, someone who uses their word to speak healing words, not poison. I believe that I'm called to be a version of a woman that I did not see growing up. But that I sensed was beneath the exterior, the rough exterior of the woman I saw. But I guess I'm called to be the version of woman that, a lot of my elders, they started off that way, and then life just kind of like beat it out of them or traumatized them so much that they put that version of them away. I'm called to bring that forward. All right. And so part of coming into that truth meant that I had to review my relationships, friendships, lovers, etc. I had to review my environments, my habits, my words that I was using, the foods that I was eating. This is what I was doing over the last 5 years, just reviewing everything and really creating a little bit of distance between those things that just did not feel like they were a reflection of my highest divine, soft energy, healed energy, and yeah, this absolutely ruffled feathers and upset the order within my relationship with my daughter's father, because two people, whether friends or lovers, can be in alignment just fine in trauma, But then when one person decides to do some of the healing work or decides to lighten up and shed the trauma, the vibration raises. And if both people don't do the work and vibrate higher together, then they become mismatched. Their energy irritates each other, or it in some way just does not match. And so that was kind of what was happening with us, and the love was there. It was always there, like literally never went anywhere. The chemistry and, sexual weight there, because that was there from jump, but the alignment wasn't there. Like I said, the alignment was off. This happened with friends. This happened with workspaces. This happened with foods that I used to num love. Like, it just wasn't there anymore. Like, it just didn't fit. It created more dis-ease than it did ease, and it had to go. Or I had to withdraw my energy from it, or I had to in some way replace it. And this is a lot of what I've been going through over the last 5 years. All of this rooted in my mommy wounds, because a woman becomes a version of herself that kind of echoes her mother, and if you have a strained or non-existent relationship with your mother, then you still inherit her ways, but it's like you're less aware of it, where it came from, and so I can see very clearly how I was creating myself in a way that was in harmony with where my mother left off in her healing. Our children continue on the healing, they take the baton, they keep going. We stop at a certain point, they keep going. And I could see where my mom has stopped in her healing of herself lesson, and her relationship healing lessons, and how I was taking the baton now. And I just wanted better. I wanted out of this toxic relationship loop. I wanted to heal that part of my story where, when, I don't know how many of you guys can relate to this, but when I was younger, when I was in my 20s, like damn near my whole life, I have only ever seen one type of relationship breakup story. One thing. Two people love each other, they come together, everything's great, they end up separating, breaking up, or whatever, and they hate each other. Or they can't stand to be in each other's space, or they never see each other, or it's awkward when they're around each other. Some type of some type of uncomfortable dynamic. I've only ever seen that. Okay. I've only ever seen like the broken family where, one of the parents goes missing and they're not involved in the child's life, and, the other parent is the primary person, and there's tension and the child suffers. I've only ever seen that, up until this point where I was healing. I had only ever seen that. Now, of course, I've seen more, but before then, I had only ever seen that. And so I remember thinking like, okay, if I have to withdraw my energy from, this relationship, this marriage, or if he has to withdraw his energy, then that's fine, except we are still going to be devoted to showing up for my daughter. Like, we're still, that there's no withdrawing of energy there. That's not how that works. And so I remember he and I really, being intentional about, regardless of how we are healing and connecting and, getting back together, separate, whatever, regardless of that, our commitment to our daughter is to be consistent. That is to continue on as if everything else is continuing on. And that was a challenge. That was a challenge because we were, in essence, in uncharted territories, because both of us have come from parents who had broken up, and then one of them was gone. In my case, both of them was gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so, we were very intentional about, okay, healing in this regard means, regardless of whether we have romantic sexual chemistry, we still have agreements as it pertains to co-parenting, as it pertains to pouring into this next generation that we've created. We still have to honor that. And we were in agreement with that, and we continue to be in agreement with that, and continue to show up, both of us, daily, weekly, to make sure that There's no confusion about how we feel about our baby girl. Like, there's no confusion. Regardless of, what's going on between mommy and daddy, regardless of whether, aspects of that relationship have transformed and evolved, none of that changes how we are showing up for her, period. And that's something that we've made very clear. And that to me is one of the lessons that I was missioned to learn and to express during this lifetime. That. The other thing that I realized, and I realized that maybe this year, the other thing I realized is that, historically I had been thinking, with the old program, and I had been thinking like, oh, a successful relationship means there's never an ending. There's never a transformation of how you are interacting. It's always the same happy face, happy family as you see in the pictures, like it's a snapshot in time. That's how I had been thinking, because that was the old program. The old programming says, like, if something ends, it was unsuccessful, you failed. Or if something changes, your feelings change, your interactions change, you know what I'm saying? Then you failed. You were not successful. As I was healing my on this level, my mommy wounds on this level, and my woman wounds on this level, Spirit really just gifted me with this perspective that, everything natural, everything that is healthy and natural has a death cycle, has an ending cycle. It's a death rebirth cycle. And regardless of, how the relationship started, every relationship must experience endings of some sort. Now, does this mean that you have to end and burn the bridge? No. But every way that it used to be has to be reviewed at some point, has to come to a completion, and you have to give it permission to rebirth in a different perspective, a different way. And that was exactly how I started to give myself permission to see my relationship with my daughter's father. Regardless of what aspects of this relationship are dying off and transforming, the rest of this relationship will be rebirthed, and we're gonna be tribe forever. Like, and I mean forever and ever, amen. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're gonna be tribe. That's just that. We're gonna show up for each other. We're going to be nice to each other. We're going to be kind to each other. We're going to hold space for each other. We're going to support each other where we can. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to let the rest of the stuff figure itself out. But some aspects of the relationship must die. They must complete. They must be given space to transform. And that is something that I have started to really lean into this year. And it has enriched my understanding of love partnerships, of long-term commitments, and it's really something that I feel, I'm hoping that Spirit will release me to talk about this more at length, because I feel like a lot of people need to figure out how to honor the beauty of relationships, to include honoring the completion of it, the completion of the death of relationships, as well as opening to the rebirth. We need to figure out how to rebirth relationships on a different level, and sometimes that means we separate. Sometimes that means we don't rely on each other as heavily. Sometimes that means we add in new people that meet certain needs, and we what I'm saying, like, it looks different for everybody. But a part of me healing my mommy wounds is realizing that I don't have to ride relationships till the wheels fall off. That's that. I can exit the relationship before we hate each other, before like the shit hits the fan. You know what I'm saying? Like, before it's bad. Somebody I was talking to, they was like, oh yeah, the police was called. What is happening over there? Like, ain't no way I wanted that for anybody I'm in relationship with, friendship, lover, whatever. Ain't no way we waited that long and it hit the fan like that, and it was a harsh landing. No. Might have been shocking and surprising, but no. Ain't no way we getting the feds, and you know what I'm saying? Ain't no way we getting the law involved, and what are we talking about here? And so I'm learning a lot, y'all. I'm learning a lot. We're at 29 minutes right now. I'm learning a lot about mature love, about unconditional love. I'm learning a lot about the death and rebirth cycle in all relationships. And I'm learning about trusting in the process, you know? And these are lessons that I cannot say that I was taught by any particular human here. These are lessons that I've come into knowing as I've walked through my healing journey, as I've given myself permission to, um, look at my lessons, look at my story, analyze my story as if like this is good, not like, oh my God, this is worse, I'm failing. No, I give myself permission to say, what if this is not a failure? What if this is actually exactly how it's supposed to play out? And the lesson is, how do you keep everything intact in a healed way? Not necessarily how do you keep everything intact exactly as it used to be. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel blessed. I feel blessed to have come into this awareness, come into this point of view, and I have not figured it all out, obviously. Still very much in the figuring out phase, but have figured out significantly how to complete relationships, work relationships, friendships, and love relationships, how to complete the old way of it, and how to transition into a new way, how to rebirth into a new way. Have figured that out. And so I'll try to share more about that as we move forward. But a lot of it is looking at your own path, giving yourself permission to detach from certain relationships, to focus on you, to master yourself, master your emotions, master, your life purpose, etc. Mastering the way you see your relationship with you, and then from there, those healed eyes can begin to see your patterns, and then you can connect them to your parents' patterns and their parents' patterns, and you can see the generational trauma that has shaped our toxic realities, and so then you can see where you need to break the cycle. So that's the long story short. All right. 30 minutes. That's it. I'm gonna jump back on and try to publish once a week. Publish it on Sundays. And so I'm gonna be jumping back on. Not really sure what I'm gonna discuss in video 4, but am open to feedback. So y'all leave me some comments down below. Let me know what you want to hear more about. Let me know some questions that you might have, because I believe that as healers, as people who have incarnated to heal the space and to raise the vibration of planet Earth, we have to live the thing that we are going to teach about. We have to come out on the other side, and then we got to Harriet Tubman that shit. Okay, and that's what I believe. And so our lives, in essence, are going to kind of be on display, but I'm still not going to tell y'all things that I don't want to tell y'all. That's on period. Like, some of that's my business. But I can tell you the gist of it. You know what I'm saying? I can tell you the themes and things like that and some of the techniques, but I ain't going to tell y'all my business because y'all nosy. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be like, oh, I'm tuning in. Hush. Tune into your own self. But let me know in the comments, seriously, y'all. Let me know in the comments, like, what y'all want to hear about, what y'all want to learn about, what relationship lessons are you struggling to like master, that you kind of just need some insight on. And I'll do my best to channel some messages for you, some guidance for you, and to use my lived experience to add to what Spirit is telling me to tell you. All right, lovelies. See y'all in Storytime 4.